Mike, I am struggling to figure out ideas of what to do in February. Do you know where I could find some tips or a guide or what I should be doing in this special month?
Yes, I do know, and as a fringe benefit, you'll get to see me, too, and I'll get to see you, because it's a live CityCast taping.
That's right. We are so excited to announce our first live taping of 2024 with a very special guest, Jade Womack. You might know her as Clock Out DC. She will be joining Mike and I at the Square Food Hall on Saturday, February 3rd.
But wait, where is the Square Food Hall?
It is downtown, 1850 K Street Northwest. And if you come at noon, you'll get to meet the team, enjoy exclusive food and drink specials from the Square chefs. Our taping begins at 1.
And wait, so what are some of the options of things we might learn about?
Well, Jade's going to be sharing all kinds of recommendations on how to live your best DC life this February. And she's pretty much the expert to all things DC, so she should know.
Well, for me, the main activity in February has now already been made clear, which is that I get to hang out with my co-host, Bridget Todd.
That's right. I'm so excited to see you. So Saturday, February 3rd at the Square. Come at noon to hang out with us. The taping begins at 1. You can find the RSVP link in the show notes.
Today on CityCast DC has started a composting pilot program. I keep noticing folks in my neighborhood with these composting bins out by their trash. And that is why we are revisiting an episode from last August, where Abby Newhouse explains how to compost in DC, and she also tries to convert a compost skeptic, that is me, into a compost crusader. Today is Thursday, January 11th. I'm Michael Schaefer, and here's what DC is talking about. All right, so we're talking about composting. And is this really a thing people do in DC?
Yes, it's actually quite a big thing. It's definitely grown over the years and specifically throughout the pandemic. I think when people had a lot of access to information and things that they could be doing better, this was just kind of one of those things. I do know that at least for the parks and recreation stations, they have thousands of people that are composting. It's all throughout the city. So lots of people are getting on board. And then there's also the farmers markets where people can go. And that's got to be even more. So yeah, it's definitely getting big.
All right. So let's walk back for a second. Why is this convince me? Why is this important?
So composting is one of the, I think, easiest and most effective thing that individuals can do to reduce their carbon footprint. Even better if we can get businesses and restaurants a little bit more on board. I do think generally restaurants are already doing this, or at least using their ingredients to, the highest degree possible. But for, individuals, it's just one of those things that can really help feel like you're doing something to give back to the environment instead of throwing things away. So I guess to start at the beginning, I like to tell people if they walk into their house and their trash has kind of been accumulating for a week or so, and you just smell, that awful mixture of things in this plastic bag that's getting no oxygen. So everything's just kind of fermenting in there together. It's really bad. And part of that is because organic materials mixed with inorganic materials in this atmosphere can't break down the way that they need to. So when all of this year one bag is transferred with all the thousands of bags throughout the city to a landfill or incinerator, all of this stuff is just together in this weird chemical soup of things not being able to break down because they're in a bad atmosphere for that. It doesn't promote decomposition in a natural way.
Does DC's stuff go to an incinerator?
Yes, they actually have to pay to haul it out. And one of the biggest sites is in Lorton, Virginia.
So by comparison, where does the compost that DC collects go to?
So it depends. If you are composting with local farmers markets, they'll take that compost up to DMV farms in the area. It's like a partnership. And then if you're composting with the Parks and Rec service and different community gardens throughout the city, they'll often use that within the gardens.
Is there data on how much you reduce your carbon footprint if you do this, if you're a family of 4?
Yeah, so I don't have exact numbers on that, but I do know that in the DC area, they've put this together that about 50% of waste is organic material that could be composted.
Meaning it wouldn't wind up being incinerated or in a landfill. It would wind up fertilizing or something.
Yes, it would wind up turning into soil and fertilizing the land.
All right, so walk me through this because I have two kids and we're lucky if things wind up in the regular trash and not like on the floor. So tell me what can you compost? You've told me why we should do it, but tell me what you can do.
Yeah, so it depends where you're putting your compost, right? So I've mentioned the farmers markets and the community gardens. There's also curbside pickups. All of these are going to have different rules, different guidelines on what's available to be composted. So most of the time, you're going to be just fine with veggie scraps, fruit scraps, bread, pasta, rice, beans, even like cut flowers from farmers markets or something that you're getting around the city. The only thing that they, at least for the farmers markets and community gardens, is that they don't take meat or dairy at this time for a couple reasons, but I think mostly because that attracts more pests that they don't want to deal with.
Let's be real. Lawsuits are not fun. But with Paulson and Nace, at least they're a little easier. Paulson and Nace is a DC law firm in every sense of the word. It was founded here in 1979. The two partners, Chris and Matt Nace, were both born here and are local leaders who care deeply about the DC community. Paulson and Nace handles medical malpractice, wrongful death, and other complex injury cases when someone has been hurt by the negligence of others. And they don't just settle every case. They'll go to court. They'll fight for you. Paulson and Nace has even been recognized as one of U.S. News' best law firms. So, if you have been hurt or have lost a loved one because of someone else's mistake or negligence, call Paulson and Nace for a no-obligation consultation. Visit www.paulsonandnace.com or call 202-463-1999.
The brand new Arbor at Tacoma is built for your most convenient urban living. Whether you want to enjoy the vibrant Tacoma DC community or comfortably retreat into a sleek sanctuary all your own. The kitchens have striking dark navy and white cabinets, and throughout the home, there are wood floors and smart home technology. Some homes even have a private outdoor space. With a quick walk to the metro, you can easily head into downtown or stay close and enjoy the retail that's on site. Located at 218 Cedar Street Northwest, the Arbor Tacoma offers brand new 1- and 2-bedroom condos starting in the upper 300,000s. Visit thearborattacoma.com for more information. That's Tacoma with a K, so TheArborattacoma.com.
All right. I don't know about you, what kind of house situation you've got going, but that sounds like it takes up a fair amount of space in a crowded kitchen. Where do I put stuff? Because I don't mean to be a jerk, but it seems kind of gross.
Oh, yeah. It definitely can be. So I think that's a lot of the reason why people are hesitant to start is because it still will smell bad, just in different ways than if it was in a trash bag. So again, it kind of depends on where you're taking it afterwards. I think curbside composting programs will give you a bucket usually, and it has a lid. You can just kind of seal it off, place it out on the curb when you're ready for them to pick it up. There's bins dedicated to composting you can buy in different places. It's kind of the same where it seals it off. I personally keep a huge plastic trash bag in my freezer and just put scraps in throughout the week. And then I'll take it to the community garden. So yeah, it definitely gets to a point where it's like, okay, we have to take this out right now.
When you say curbside pickup, what does that mean?
So yeah, there are a few private curbside programs like Apex Organics, Compost Cab, Pluver, Key Compost. The list kind of goes on, and it's actually pretty easy to Google.
And you, the customer, you pay them to come to your house and pick up. How much does it cost?
Yeah, so that's kind of the issue with these, depending on the resident, if you're able to pay for this. The other programs are free, the farmers market and community garden. As far as I've seen, it's somewhere around $30 a month, just because it's, getting around DC. We all know what that's like. So yeah, the fees can add up a little bit, but They have dedicated farms that they're taking this to as well. So still kind of a closed loop process. Composting should be a thing that big businesses and government and things are behind. In fact, the US is actually behind a couple different countries that have compost bins everywhere in cities. I was in Spain in October, and yeah, they have a huge recycling bin, and one composting bin.
So, and this is like at people's regular houses, the same way that we have like our green and our blue trash cans, they will have a third trash can that is for organic material.
Yes. Yeah, they're on the street everywhere.
Sorry, has there been a push to get the local government in DC to do that?
Yes, DC is actually planning it. DC is one of the cities that people are looking to like figure out how to implement this. There are some cities in the US that are a little bit farther ahead, like Portland, Oregon, surprise, surprise. They'll have composting like within apartment buildings and such that you can, they actually take the compost more often than they take the trash from buildings, which of course prompts residents to compost more. So yeah, DC is kind of working on that. They have a pilot program, basically like the curbside programs that I was talking about earlier, except it will be through DC.
What about in the rest of the DC area? What municipalities have this as part of their service?
I don't think many do, which is part of why this pilot program will be important. I think being able to use the compost in different green areas that we have will help maintain the parks and then also the waterways, like we're saying.
So like during the pandemic, I noticed a lot of restaurants had switched up their takeout containers to those like beige styrofoam-ish boxes.
Yeah.
Now we're supposed to be in the name of sustainability. Is that right?
Yes.
And are those boxes themselves compostable?
This is where it gets a little bit complicated. And I wrote an article about this about a year and a half ago because I was at Union Market, got some taquerian. It was in a compostable container. And I was like, this is great. And then I looked around and I was like, but where do I put it? There was only a trash can. These products count as industrial composting, which is different than just composting a carrot or lettuce leaves. They break down a little bit differently, and they need to be broken down kind of in an industrial compost site. And part of the reason it has to go somewhere else, which is also part of the reason why DC hasn't implemented it yet, because it adds costs, is because it does have other chemicals, different things within the packaging for the most part that they say should not be placed over food that we're growing. It still is totally fine to put for plants, for trees, for flowers, whatever, but the risk of those like chemicals getting into our food means it has to be processed differently.
So
does that make sense?
Were these restaurants just like dumb to get those things? I mean,
it's kind of a greenwashing thing. Like they are doing their best. It is true that these compostable containers will break down faster in a landfill. But the ironic part is like nobody's going out to a landfill to collect the dirt that's in this pile of garbage. So it doesn't do much for the environment in that atmosphere.
I like that term, greenwashing.
Oh, yeah.
So are you the one at parties who's always telling people to compost?
Oh, yeah. Calling me out. Honestly, I was like, doing this is a dream come true. And I don't want this to make this sound like this is all an individual's actions and it's like all up to us individually to save the world, because that, is kind of a pipe dream. Yes, we should be doing the best that we can, and having this knowledge helps us become better. But we also need to put pressure on government. And so anyway, yes, I'm the person that talks about it, but I also want it to be recognized that I know it's not up to small people to fix everything.
So I'm a city kid, and, the thing is like you have trash and then you make it go away. And that's kind of the binary. It's like either there or it's away. And,
yeah.
We don't watch our food grow or anything like that. We now have community gardens. We now have these other things. So people are maybe a little bit more aware of like the cycles of nature. But this is sort of the cultural change, it seems to me, you're navigating also, is that for people who are not, in a farming area where the land is understood as a factory for producing things, it's like the instinct, if you're trying to keep your house clean and stuff, is just like, make it all go away, man.
Right. Yeah. And it's a hard mindset to break out of. And it's hard for a reason. It's because these industries have given us the ease of just being able to throw something out and replace it with something else. And yeah, we just kind of view throwing things away as if they disappear. I think we've all had that mindset before, right? And that's just not a reality. And I think that can be seen when you talk to people about like landfills, or if people have like driven by and seen them or gone to them. Everybody is like scared of this. Like, we see all these dystopian movies of like landfills like burning, and like that's the atmosphere of the world in this dystopia. And it's like, that's actually happening right now. And we just ignore it because to us, it's a different place. It doesn't exist here. It's away, whatever away is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now tell me, if I am someone who wants to get rid of my watermelon rinds and pineapple pieces, and I can't afford to pay for a pickup service, where specifically should I go?
Yeah. So I would recommend the farmers markets or the community gardens.
Any farmers market?
Most of them do. You can check a simple Google of like DC composting will tell you which farmers markets will let you. Most of them do. They have, specific hours and days, so it's good to check on that. There's also a list of what they'll accept on that website.
And what should I put it in when I bring it to the farmer's market? Do I put it in a plastic bag?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you just dump it out of the plastic bag into what they have, and then you'll take your plastic bag home. So we've reused our freezer bag for like a couple years now.
So you have like a freezer bag full of composted material, but it's in the freezer, so it's not gross.
Yeah.
And then you reuse it. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it definitely helps, but also means that we maybe keep it too long in the freezer and need to take it out more often. But I would also recommend the Parks and Recreation composting sites, the community gardens. They have a really good system. There's a couple people that will manage each different site throughout the city. And they'll give you a training and just tell you how to do what they accept. And then also you're able to volunteer with them and help move the compost, help clean up the site. So it's kind of a good community builder while growing things.
Dig it. What's the weirdest thing that you can compost?
Oh my gosh. You can compost, I don't know that these things take this, but you can compost your own hair or your fingernails. We are technically organic material, humans, so we can also be composted.
So you got to bring your message to barbershops, man.
Yeah, right. It's a good point. We'll set aside a little bin for them.
Abby Newhouse, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Super fun.
And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed our show, why not bookmark it instead of composting it? We'll be back tomorrow with even more news from around the city. Bye.